Welcome back, College Algebra. This is section 4.3. 4.3, the good news for you is this is going to be a little bit longer lesson than the last two lessons. We're going to be looking at division. Remember, we've looked at functions and we've looked at multiplication of functions. We've looked at addition. We've looked at subtraction. We've looked at composition of functions. But we did not spend a whole lot of time talking about division other than what the domain can and cannot be. And that's going to apply here also. Here is our first function, 4x cubed minus 2x squared minus x plus 1. And we're going to say that the domain cannot be 1, or x. The domain is x such that x does not equal to positive 1. But let's look a little bit more at this. Let's look at what this would be if we divided it out. So what we would do is we would take x minus 1, and we divide it into 4x cubed minus 2x squared minus x plus 1. Now, just like in regular division, you don't try to eat the whole elephant at one time. You try to take it bite by bite. So I'm just going to be concerned with x and multiplying x times what value to get me 4x cubed. And in this case, it would be 4x squared. Now, I do it this way. Some people do it other ways, but I like lining up my x squared terms, my x cubed terms, my x terms, and so forth all in one column. So I'm going to say, I know 4x squared, and I'm going to put it right here. So now, just like in regular division, you multiply through to get your answer. 4x squared times negative 1, and I multiply it just by each individual piece. I don't try to multiply it all at once, although I could. 4x squared times negative 1 is negative 4x squared. And then 4x squared times x is 4x cubed. Now, if you ever get a different value here from what you had right above it, then you haven't used the right value right here. Okay, well, this is a subtraction of polynomials. I have this polynomial taking away this polynomial. And if you subtract a polynomial from another polynomial, you really just change the signs and add. So that's what I'm going to show here. I'm going to show that, hey, I'm going to say, okay, this is going to be my minus, this is going to be my plus. And I always like putting it in parentheses. I don't like crossing anything out, because if I cross it out, I may go back and look later and like, what was that to begin with? But if I put it in parentheses, I know what I started off with, and I know what I changed it to. Again, that's just my preference. If you want to grow up to be like me, you'll do that too. So we have negative 2x squared plus 4x squared, and that's going to be 2x squared. And again, 4x cubed minus 4x cubed, 0. Again, let's go back to our long division. In long division, after we take this step of subtraction, we bring down. So I'm going to bring down my minus x. So I have to ask, x times what gives me 2x squared? And that would be 2x. Two x times negative 1 is negative 2x. 2x times x is 2x squared. Okay, once again, I need to subtract, so I change my signs. And one other thing I did when I was at school, I always wrote in a different color. So if you have like a pencil and a pen, or a blue pen and a black pen, or whatever, you may want to change your colors there just to keep things straight. That's just a strategy I used. Again, if you want to grow up to be like me, you'll do that too. Negative x plus 2x is going to be x, and again, 2x squared minus 2x squared, 0, which is what we needed it to be. Pull down my 1. X times what gives me x, and that would be 1. So I'll put my 1 here. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. 1 times x is x. I subtract, so I change my signs again. One plus 1 is 2. So I get a remainder of 2. Now, again, we don't write R2 here like we did when we first learned long division and we had a remainder. What we do here is just say, okay, well, this would be plus 2 over x minus 1. So my answer to this division problem would be 4x squared plus 2x plus 1 plus 2 over x minus 1. Again, this is as long as x does not equal to 1. Now, there is one other thing that we can add to this. We can do something called synthetic division here. Now, with synthetic division, my root is going to be 1 because my factor is x minus 1. So what I'll do is I'll take a 1 here, and then I'll take all of my coefficients from my top problem, which would be 4, negative 2, negative 1, and then positive 1. Okay, in synthetic division, what you do is you bring this first term down, and now we multiply. 1 times 4 is 4. Negative 2 plus 4 is 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 minus 1, or negative 1 plus 2, is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. And then 1 plus 1 is, and here's where my remainder goes. Now, what we did is we took a cubic equation, we divided it by a linear equation, and we get a quadratic as our answer. So we have 4x squared plus 2x plus 1, then plus 2 over x minus 1, which is exactly what we got before doing the long division. Now, a couple things. You might think, well, why don't we just do synthetic division every time? Why? Because it was a lot quicker. So why would I ever need to do long division? Well, there would be times in the case if I had a cubic and I was dividing it by a quadratic, I would need to do long division to do that one as well. Likewise, if I have a leading coefficient here, let's say that this had been divided by 2x minus 1 instead of x minus 1. Now all of a sudden I've got, well, this is going to be x equals positive 1/2. So I would have a 1/2 here. Sometimes, I mean, this can be done. You can do synthetic division like this, but you start dealing with multiplying by fractions, and you can get some pretty messy fractions going along here. So depending on what that fraction would be might determine, yeah, 1/2 I probably would go ahead and do that. But if I had 1/5 or 3/5 or something like that, I might want to do long division in that case. So hold on to this point right here. We're going to pause this video, and then I will be doing part 2 of this lesson.